going on, everybody? It's Jason here from Coast to Coast Canna Chat. I'm sitting with Vince Oliver from A CBD Remedy. He's going to be telling a little bit about his CBD company today and what he's doing in the industry and really where he got his start and how he's got where he is today. So, Vince, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
I know we've been trying to do it for a couple months now, but, you know,
yeah,
you got to work, right? You got to work.
Yeah, a little bit.
Cool.
A little bit.
So what do you got going on? Tell us a little bit about your company and how A CBD Remedy was first formed.
So A CBD Remedy kind of slowly came to fruition while I was working in Colorado. Mm-hmm. I've been managing in the cannabis space in a couple of dispensaries out there. And when we knew that we were going to be moving back to the East Coast, my wife and I are originally from New Jersey. It was just like, you know, I there isn't really much of a cannabis market there, like what we were used to in Colorado. It's nowhere near that. So it's like I can't just be like, hey, you know, I can come manage your dispensary or whatever. So it really came about from being able to start and work for myself. Mm-hmm. So I was able to work with an edible company owner out in Colorado, and she taught me how to make tinctures and showed me how they do everything. And you know, between all of my industry connections out there for any of my, you know, raw or bulk oils that I use for my products, I have, you know, pretty direct pipeline for all that and know where it comes from, how it's grown, where it's processed and stuff like that. So yep. I'm able to keep a pretty, really close pulse off to, you know, the quality anyway, just to keep my product consistent. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, that's the very, very beginnings of it. And then when we got back to New Jersey, we kind of got everything started and yes, you know, brings me to now, I guess.
Great. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Should have never left. No, I'm kidding. Everyone should go west. You have to go west, especially now with everything really stalling on the East Coast. Yeah, no, I think that was the right move. You know, you go out, you get your feet wet, and you roll up your sleeves. You know, you find out what works in the industry, what works for you, and really where you want to be.
Definitely.
So many people are trying to get in, and the biggest question is, what can I do? Or where do I go? Right. So, and no one's going to answer that for you. You really have to explore, you know, play around with a few things and see what you want to do.
Definitely. You do have to go get it. Yeah. The earlier part of my cannabis transition started out in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
We moved across country a couple times.
I think I knew that actually.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I felt like California was
California
in the mix there somewhere.
Right. California was first. The Bay Area was... Bay Area was a lot of fun, man, and it was like 6 years of
Wild West.
Yeah, definitely. Like I mean, I had a medical card. You can grow cannabis in your house. I did it in my garage.
Nice. And
you can sell to dispensaries. You know, this was back in the mid 2000s. You know, I was there. So like 2000, 2007, 2008 timeframe. So yeah, California definitely was the Wild West. You didn't have to pay taxes on anything. You know, every 90 to 120 days, you know, you pull down a few $1,000 and, you know, and go get a sandwich. I don't know.
That's one hell of a sandwich.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow. Yeah, man. It was interesting. It was a lot of fun and you know, it was definitely a big learning process. All the things that I was doing then were, you know, the quality piece that I pay attention to now, I wasn't entirely aware of then. So some of the mediums that I was growing my plants in weren't what I would use now. Mm-hmm. You know, but weren't uncommon for the time frame.
Yeah,
but definitely weren't the cleanest options.
Yeah.
So, but it was still, you know, you're growing in cocoa, which is not too bad, and using some chelated chemicals as your fertilizers and everything like that. You know, it's like you can still grow some okay bud, but
have a clean environment.
Yeah, have a clean environment, but it's like
there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, you could never call it organic or say that it was grown in like, you know, built or living soil or anything like that. And as you move along through it, you kind of learn and you grow. But
I think garage grown should be a certified brand. I think that it just has to be inspected and qualified.
You bag it up in Ziploc bags
as long as you have the operations there to back it up. You know,
no doubt.
It would have to be a big garage. I would assume.
Very, very big garage.
But yeah, no, it's so tell me a little bit about your time spent in California specifically. You know, what was it like being able to grow and sell directly to dispensaries and having a direct to business pipeline there? I mean, is that something that you ever see coming back?
No.
Okay.
No, that's never coming back. That is never coming back.
It was a bit of a loaded question, but I had to ask.
No, it's not coming back. And actually, I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
you know, because I want to know that it is grown in a controlled, very clean environment, you know.
Home grow.
Home grow for your personal use is,
Sure.
I think should absolutely be allowed, and really makes no blips on the radar as far as, you know, revenue for the regular dispensary businesses out there. Most folks who have a home grow can't even really have that consistent of flower that you'd get in a dispensary.
It's the same reason you don't see Budweiser flipping out about these craft breweries selling these kits to your house. I mean,
Right.
One, it takes space, it takes time, and it takes a whole lot of patience, and your family members have to agree with, you know, you occupying 3/4 of your house. Not 3/4, but whatever, you know.
But yeah,
that's a closet your wife could be using for something, you know. At the end of the day, that's 3,500 pairs of shoes that could fit in that space. It could be measured in different ways. There's all sorts of units to measure in my house.
California was a lot of fun. Definitely the Wild West as far as the industry is concerned. But I was able to learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was able to spend some time up, you know, far Northern California, Mendocino area.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to, you know, be able to participate in some trimming sessions with folks who were growing outdoors out there. I mean, I had a chance to see some, massively huge outdoor grown, you know, sativas that were like 12, 14 feet tall. It was awesome. It was an awesome experience. So it was a chance to really, you know, learn and kind of get in, you know. But yeah, Bay Area was great. Very, very different. Everything in California is going to be very different than anywhere else.
Of course, yeah.
You know, but it was a lot of fun.
Have you been back that way recently? Or?
To visit friends? Recently, no, not recently. I mean, within the past couple of years, you know, we go back occasionally to meet up with some of our friends out there and check out a couple wineries and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's great.
It was all pre-kids.
Yeah,
living out in California.
I know what you mean. The wife and I got engaged. We did a road trip. We started up in Napa Valley, went all the way down to San Diego.
Okay.
I proposed to her on a cliff somewhere, and you know, it was nice. It was really nice. We had no kids. I love my kids, but
I love my kids too.
We had no kids.
I love my children.
I love my kids. I love you guys. You're gonna watch this one day. I'm online. Everything online is online forever.
I do love my.
I'll edit this out later.
Just say. That was all life pre-kids. We got to have a lot of fun and be responsible, and now I have to be responsible and work in the cannabis space.
Yep. So. It's a transition a lot of people have made, and you know, the older we are, the easier it is, right? I mean, we have kids; it's just a natural progression. The challenge I see with some of that is like when we were younger, it was a very irresponsible environment, right? I mean, we're driving and doing it, so it's a matter of educating the kids, our kids, you know, now not to make the same mistakes, right? And I sound like my parents; they said the same crap to me about drinking and doing everything else, but you know, it's true, and it's about being a little more responsible with it. And you need to make sure that your kids really aren't getting a hold of this until they're, you know, of age. And, you know, having it behind the counter is much better than having it on the street. Right. Because your drug dealer is knocking the cards. So, but the educational aspect is key for the youth.
It's huge.
I already told my kids it's medicine. I say this on every one of my podcasts. Like, I introduced it as medicine because I don't know what the school system's going to introduce it as. Right. If you have a DARE program come in or a cop come in and speak to them, as they should. You know, I just want to make sure that my message, their first exposure to it is medicine. So they don't, oh, dad's doing that? Oh, God. Yeah. You know, so that was important to me.
But no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. My babies are really little, so I have a little bit of time before I have to have those conversations.
Sure.
So right now it's Paw Patrol and...
There's some weird messages behind Paw Patrol, man. Don't sleep on that.
You think so?
Yeah, half that shit that our kids are watching.
I think it's weird that there's a little kid and dogs who save a town over and over again. Yeah. It's interesting to me.
I mean, the town really needs to invest some money in its infrastructure and its fire department and everything else. So you got these pets saving you over and over again.
Anyway.
So back to your journey. I mean, what led you to jump ship from Cali and head over to Colorado? Is that post kids? Is that after you had your first kid?
We didn't have our first child till like we didn't get pregnant until we had just moved to Colorado. Gotcha. Probably about 90 days after we got there. Okay. It was definitely a surprise. So it was like, let's get to Colorado. I'm going to start working in the industry and really like dig into this like professional space here. Yeah. And then right after that, we found out my wife was pregnant. So
a lot of life changes all at
yeah,
once.
yeah, that was a big one. So, but it's
it
all
makes
good.
you work harder. You know,
Yeah.
it's you prioritize more things. You work on your schedule. You know, it's kind of like getting thrown into the fire, and it's not always a bad thing. May actually help you be more successful and organized.
I hope so.
Sucks for a little bit of time. Get a couple bags under your eyes, you lose some hair, but you know, at the end of the day,
the lack of sleep is maniacal for a while.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But
insomnia is not one of the things that I'm taking cannabis for.
No.
No.
Oh my god. So yeah, my journey out of California, we came back to New York for a minute, kind of regrouped, and then went to Colorado probably about 18 months later.
Okay.
And we were there for like 5 years.
Where in Colorado?
In Boulder.
Okay.
Specifically in Boulder. There were
the heartland.
Yeah. Boulder is really, really nice. But yeah, working in the industry space was really interesting. You're having, after a while, you get used to these conversations. People coming in like, you know, I'm going on a hike today, or I'm going to be somewhere outside being active, which is that's what, you know, Colorado calls to folks who are very active and running around and skiing and so forth.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a lot of fun. You know, and it's just like you're recommending different strains to smoke, you know, just to kind of, you know, have them upbeat, maybe eliminate some pain, you know, just overall enjoy themselves, or really give themselves the opportunity to take in the scenery, you know, kind of achieve I don't know, elevate your spiritual a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
and even for pain, you know, if you're a hiker, and, you know, just on the last podcast, we had a gentleman on, he was talking about, you know, injuries from sports, you know, and snowboarding being one of them,
right?
You know, so if you combine it, you know, it's no brainer. It's not for everyone, but again, there's a lot of research that's still to be done on the strains and really their impacts on various different types of ailments.
Right.
So, you know, it's a bit of a matching process that, again, back to education.
Yeah.
It used to be just one product. It was just weed, you know, and now there's so many different variations that can apply to so many different, you know, health hazards, but, you know, health ailments.
Right.
That's the word I'm looking for. There, you know, you need those people to hold the hands.
Yeah.
Until this is normalized, and
right,
you can go to a store and say, "Yeah, I need that."
Yeah.
You know, so
I got to be honest, man. When I got to Colorado, I don't think I fully. How do I put this? I don't think I fully digested the medicinal aspect of this. Total transparency. I don't believe I did. In California, I was just, you know, learning what I liked, you know, you know, and understanding kind of like how to grow it a bit, you know, without completely diving in just yet. But actually getting to Colorado and being the GM of a medical dispensary and, you know, day in and day out working with patients who really do use this as a medicine, you know, and as a way of kind of like supplementing some of the pharmaceutical stuff that they have to take. That was a huge eye opener for me, you know, and really made me fall in love with the industry. This is a true medicine, you know, all the other propaganda and nonsense that's been, you know, built up around this for so many generations. It's just like this. Before all that, like, this was used as a medicine, and it was really helping people. I had plenty of clients that, you know, would come in and you know, tell me how whatever recommendation that I came up with actually helped them get to sleep, you know, or they were able to actually walk a little bit more that day. Those things were, you know, like, wow, I'm helping you a bit.
I didn't have to go to med school to make someone feel better.
Yeah, it's just like I wasn't able to walk up and down the stairs for a couple of days until you know, you gave me this 1-to-1 strain that worked really, really well for me. You know, and it's just like, while there was a little bit of a high, I could still be productive, and I could walk up and down my stairs and get things done. You know, that's where you really understand that this is a true medicine. You know, it's just like it. You know, there's no side effects. You know, there's no like 2 in 10,000 can get cancer from this kind of thing. Like, those kind of things are. I thought that was, you know, that was an amazing eye-opening experience for a couple of years. So
absolutely, yeah, definitely. No, I agree. So it sounds like you got a lot of your foundational education from Colorado.
Definitely,
you know, in terms of legitimate industry knowledge, how to use adequate materials. To your point, work in a cleaner environment. So, that evolution, I mean, and it's continuing onto the East Coast over here where you eventually landed. What are some of your key takeaways between Colorado and what you've learned in Colorado and what you're seeing in New Jersey right now in terms of maturity of the industry and really some of the pitfalls, if you will?
Maturity of the industry. That's an interesting question. New Jersey's is really behind the 8 ball.
We don't have to talk just about New Jersey.
Gotcha. Okay.
Makes it a little easy because New Jersey,
right,
we're working on New Jersey. We're just
New Jersey's tough, man. The maturity of the industry. I wouldn't even say that in my opinion, I wouldn't say that the industry here is even in its infancy as of yet. It's even younger than that. Maybe embryo stage. There are no real edible brands out there yet. I mean, there may be a couple that are like in the beginnings, but what I'm used to, it's right. You come in, there's a number of different gummies, chocolates, drinks, a number of different brands,
alternatives.
Yeah, tons of different options for consuming. It's not here just yet. But I mean, after New Jersey kind of gets out of its own way a little bit, those things I'm sure will spring up. But there are some incredible options out there that don't require you having to smoke. Those are some things that really affect people. I can't really smoke anything. It hurts my lungs, or I have asthma, or whatever else have you. So having a dosable option that's like easy is pretty straightforward. Anyway, that's something that is very different here. That a lot when I talk about these things to folks that haven't seen that yet, they're like, I can't wait to see that. So
you got to make your own. You got to go out and get a magic butter machine, or you got to get an ardent, and you got to go home and figure out how to do that, or knock on your neighbor's door or your friends and say, hey, can you help me make my tincture? I don't really know what I'm doing. So that needs to change. I mean, true patients really shouldn't have to do that and make their own medicine, because there's so many variables into the quality of what you're making at home. Right, 100%. It's not a finished product until you take it and consume it into your body. So it's almost like we're handing off raw materials and saying, "Go make your own pill."
Good luck.
So it's not adequate. It's not efficient. And it's not, where the industry needs to be. Now you have some of the bans coming into play on the CBD market, right? So let's talk a little bit about your CBD company and how are you navigating some of the bans that New Jersey's and New York and some of the other states are really looking to implement or have implemented in the industry? And what's the biggest impact to you as a CBD business owner?
Some of the bans on edibles, especially in New York, that's kind of the reason why I have stayed in my lane with tinctures for now. Any kind of infused edibles, you can't, unless they're imported from somewhere. You cannot make them, or there's very specific requirements in certain states as to how you can go about that. And that's kind of that's one of the big things that's just kind of kept me in the lane that I'm in.
Smart.
What I do see as a transition for a CBD remedy is that I do have a little bit of a background in concentrates and in processing. So that this may be something that I segue into an actual concentrate processing company.
That'd be great.
I
know a lot of people are waiting for processing licenses. And it wasn't part of the last round. It was excluded, and hopefully under the next set of RFAs that drop in the region, they move that forward. I think you're going to see a lot more of the horizontals. In the next round. Hopefully.
I hope so too. I hope to be one of those as well. So.
There's a lot of people that just were going to go in the past round and like, I'm going to wait. And I think that was a smart move. Rather than throw a ton of money at this, and nothing against the people that did, I get it, but it was highly competitive in this past round. And when the real opportunity is going to present itself for small to medium business owners is when that horizontal market really starts exploding. And you can take various pieces of the horizontal and form your own vertical over time, right? You start with a niche and you get good at it.
Agreed.
So, I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out in the next round, or when it's even going to happen, because you have the election year. You want to talk about the election a little? You want to talk politics? No, I'm not going to be on the spot there. But ultimately, from an election standpoint, one of my concerns is really just the impact on the industry. I don't want to see the election year set the industry back with all the political back and forth and propaganda and campaign ads and people using it as a stepping stone just to get into their political office or wherever they want to be. It's going to happen.
People do that now.
They do it now. It's just going to be magnified, and it's just going to be this pile of noise that we have to deal with for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Because even after the election, whoever gets in, even if it's somebody who's pro-cannabis or wants to deschedule or legalize fully, it's not going to happen right away. You still have another year of getting that implemented in states. So we're looking at 2 years worth of noise, maybe 6 if Trump gets back. So I don't know.
I think I'll use Governor Murphy as an example. I know the earlier part of his campaign was about legalizing cannabis in like his first 100 days.
Right.
Obviously, there's more to it than him just being like, all right, we're going to do this. It's day 99, and we're going to start, we're ready tomorrow on day 100. Mm-hmm. It's been over 600 days, and there's still like no...
Gambling was legalized.
Yeah.
So somebody's getting their tax money from somewhere. Yeah, one of the two hits, and the other one takes a back seat, unfortunately.
True.
From a political standpoint.
Yeah. I would never, I don't want to ever come across like I'm some very politically savvy person. There are some things that I do get out there and am an activist for, and then other things that are out of my wheelhouse. I'm just kind of like I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, you do what you can. You make the impacts where you can, and you put your emphasis on what's important to you.
Right.
I'm the same way. I try. There's so much to do with politics. It's like cannabis. Like I own a business and I want to get in cannabis. What can you do? What do you do? Marketing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, in the same aspect, there's just so much to do with it that I generally default to my wife. My wife is on top of anything and everything political that's going on leading up to and after an election in her family. So she's like my main source of knowledge and my filter for anything political that I need to pay attention to.
Right.
She's like, this is important. I'm like, okay. And then I'll have my section of what's important. And then we bring our political views together, and that's what we focus on. That's our niche.
Sure.
But I agree. Politics are a necessary evil. You got to get involved. You need to make change. Otherwise, nothing's going to affect change. God, they suck.
The stuff that's happening now is just it's so crazy, man. It's like...
It's irrational, illogical. There's no, I just feel like there's a bunch of 4-year-olds around the country.
Yeah.
And making those type of, kindergarten level decisions. Like, no, that's my toy. Fuck you, man.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to blow up your country now.
Or steal your Twinkie. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm taking this from you. This is valuable to you. Now it's mine. Man. The political stuff is I don't know.
You would think with more weed in the world, everyone would be a lot nicer. But, I guess we need to grow more still.
You have to actually put the joint in their mouth.
Yeah, this is true.
You just here, put...
Yeah, I'm working on a device. I'll just launch it into the ozone and just mask the entire planet in this gas of happiness.
Everybody's like, it's all good, man. We're good.
I was surprised. I think other parts of the world in cannabis, South Korea legalized for medicinal purposes. So when you think of like these atypical countries out there that you would never expect, if they're moving forward, we should be much further along as a very progressive country.
True.
So it's sad to see some of that. I'm happy for South Korea. Great.
Yeah.
But it's sad to see us, really dragging our feet. In this country.
Yeah, I mean, South Korea is very interesting, but I mean, like countries like Portugal, were ahead of how they handle their war on drugs. A long time ago. I don't know years or anything, but I know that pretty much everything is legal there. And if you need some kind of addiction help, rather than putting you in jail, which doesn't necessarily change that you're an addict, it separates you from it for a bit, but it's just like, you just become a statistic and a piece of revenue for, a jail system. Anyway, but, their approach I found was interesting and works, and they don't have as many, you know, crime issues or around drugs. You know,
Right.
a lot of that stuff is still there. And I don't live there. I have some friends who are from there, and it's the way they approach drugs and addiction is very different. And in cannabis is, I mean, between Portugal and Spain, like, you know, you have folks with like very old family recipes for drinks and certain foods that have cannabis in it that are like 100 years old.
Right.
You know, it's kind of been there.
Yeah.
You know, so they treat it a little bit differently. Anyway,
it's cultural. I mean,
yeah,
it's cultural, and I guess the point being is I want to see the culture in the United States shift drastically on cannabis.
Definitely.
It just needs to happen.
With some of the Asian countries, man, coming around, it's like that's, you know, it's like a lot of that's pretty cool, man. For South Korea to do that, like that's really pretty big.
Yeah, you think of, you know, Korea, and you think of getting caned for spitting gum on the street and stuff. So
yeah,
you know, sparking a joint, you can only imagine what you know type of outrage that would cause in
Yeah.
certain circles. But
yeah,
I guess
like
Dennis Rodman's having an effect over there. So he went over there, and they his green hair, and people are just changing their minds about things.
and really good at rebounds.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Very cool, man. So, what else do you have going on in the industry? Tell me a little bit about what you have coming up in the next year. What are your plans for a CBD remedy, an expansion, or?
So for a CBD remedy, I have a couple of new products that we're bringing to market, still within that tincture vein, if you will. So we have some of that stuff coming out. We're working on some, you know, still doing some R&D on how we're bringing it out, but you know, at least by Thanksgiving time frame, should have at least two new products out.
Great.
As far as my myself, aside from a CBD remedy, I do some consulting for folks who are going for licensing.
Nice.
I've helped a group out in both in Denver and in Kansas City go for licensing. The one in Denver got approved.
Great.
One in Kansas City, we find out, I want to say late November, early December.
Yeah.
And there are two potential clients in the Chicago market, because Illinois just approved rec. So that's
awesome.
It was amazing. So I had a chance to be out in Chicago like a week and a half ago.
Cool.
Meet with a couple of folks, and hopefully we're going to be working on a few things. So it's been
great.
A lot of conversations and areas where they can be open, what's zoned for it. So that's exciting. It's exciting to see, you know, other markets pop on and get going, and to be a part of that process.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm looking to do the same thing from a quality compliance standpoint. You know, in the absence of any traction here, you know, in New Jersey, and you know, the places to go are really external to the New Jersey market, and you know, what I do from a quality compliance perspective and the big pharma area, it's going to translate very nicely into the cannabis market.
Sure.
So I'm excited to, you know, make some road trips out west. Q1, Q2.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
I'll let you know where I go.
All right. All right. Cool.
I'm always looking for travel partners.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
But yeah, no, that's great. That's really great.
Thank you. Beyond that, I have some of my own plans to hopefully go after licensing here in New Jersey. There are a couple of towns between Central and South Jersey that you know, having some beginning conversations with some of the, you know, local government folks, mayors and committee, just to kind of talk more about what day-to-day dispensary life looks like in their town and what you kind of expect. So it's kind of the whole warming up process, you know, to see if I can get their approval.
Now you got to start now.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, there were people trying to jump in the last round, like within that last 2-week period.
Yeah.
We're just printing out the application.
No.
You really need to be embedded in the local municipalities. You need to know the people. You need to have the relationships. Go out and have dinner. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't buy them dinner because that looks bad. But, you know, have dinner. Or a cup of coffee, whatever.
Right.
And network and build those relationships. Sure. It's not just about saying, hey, I've got a company. It's going to look great in your town. You got to sell the town. You know, you really got to make sure they're on board. And again, it goes back to education. Because, you know, you're spending all that time getting in front of them and trying to say, hey, this is what I want to bring to your town.
Yeah. Why?
You know, what's in that? Not what's in it for me, but what's in it for the town.
Right.
What are we going to get out of it? How are you mitigating risk? All that needs to be up in front.
Yeah.
So
other than tax revenue, like tax revenue is an easy one.
Yeah.
You know, well, you're going to be able to pull, you know, X, Y, and Z as far as tax money. There are some mayors that I've met with that they're just like, all right, well, you know, like what else?
Right.
you know. And you know, that's why I look at some towns that maybe are struggling a little bit, you know. It's just like, look, this will bring in some jobs. It may not be a ton of jobs, but it's just like, here's where we may be able to expand on it. You know, a dispensary is one thing. Here's what we're looking at staffing numbers wise,
right.
You know, or a cultivation facility. You know, these are about how many jobs this can put together, and in processing and so forth like that. And those are the things that they definitely want to, you know, talk about a bit more, especially if that town has, you know, a little bit more of an unemployment populace there.
Yeah.
So that, you know, you do talk about that, and any kind of educational aspects of it where we can bring folks in, talk to them about the industry, and, you know, let them know that this is not just some reefer madness thing. Like, we're not going to have, you know, selling to little kids. They're going to be running around out in the streets with their bicycles and joints in their ears or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, there's a you know, telling people how you're going to be responsible is one thing, but then actually having like a detailed run of what your day looks like within that space. Yeah. They're just like, okay, wow, I wasn't really expecting that. Yeah. You know, so it's just like the education piece of, like you said a few times, is huge. And actually, I found that, you know, some of those towns that I've met with, they've been very, very receptive to talk with me. It's not like a complete shutdown or they don't want to hear about it. I find that there's a little bit of a disconnect between like the state level and the township level. So most of the feedback that I've gotten from some of the towns is just like, we really haven't heard anything. We know that this is coming. It's just kind of like,
nobody's talking to us.
Right. Yeah.
We're waiting for you to come talk to us, and if you don't, nobody is.
Which actually I love. Yeah. You know, I love that opportunity. It's just like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's worked in the space, can speak to it pretty well. I have a number of excellent references that you can double check if you need to. But ultimately, like, you know, I've been using that. If I get the shot to talk with somebody, and you know, it's just like, then that's the opportunity to potentially be able to move forward there.
I've been trying to get people to come here and talk. So, you know, in town, the surrounding towns, there's still a lot of misconceptions.
Sure.
Way more than I ever assumed.
Right.
But once I started coming out of the Canna closet and talking publicly about what I'm doing,
sure,
you know, a lot of people are for it. But to your point, the reefer madness is still there.
Yeah, yeah.
I got the, I was talking about just downtown Springfield over here. It's been getting rebuilt for 10 years, and it's been stalling. I'm like, what would a medical cannabis dispensary do for this town? And then it was just, oh, that's what we need, more potheads driving down the road.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, there's like 6 liquor stores within a quarter mile.
Yeah.
You know, every 250 feet, there's a bar or liquor store.
Right.
So, you know, it's time to open our eyes, you know?
Definitely.
But yeah.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I used to get a little bit frustrated by that. You know, people are like, oh, God, we don't need to have more drugs that are okay for, you know, people to just go and buy. And it's just like, it's not necessarily just like more drugs that you're offering to people.
It's an alternative.
It's an alternative to some things, you know. Like, you can't put on a fentanyl patch and really be able to function well throughout the day. Like, you're pretty, you know, I mean, fentanyl patch is an extreme example, you know, for what they're used for, typically for cancer patients. But still, like, you know, you're not driving anywhere with that. Yeah. Not that you can drive anywhere on cannabis anyway, but it's just like, you can at least be more productive in, you know, in whatever space you're in, working from home or something like that, and be able to get things done and be able to alleviate some pain or, you know, whatever it might be. But I guess I could make a ton of other examples, you know. And then with alcohol, like, you could spend $50 and go buy like a cheap handle of tequila or something and give yourself alcohol poisoning in a few minutes. You know, if you felt that aggressive about drinking that much, you can spend $50 and get an eighth of pretty much any kind of cannabis. And really, in my opinion, the only thing you're dangerous to is like Doritos and pudding.
Hide the Twinkies.
Yeah, it's just like, we're gonna go eat.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done to combat the things that are on the black market. You know, there's a lot to be done to combat the opioid epidemic and crisis. Somebody had a great idea about, I can't go into detail about what it was, but they had a great idea of controlling the pills, but at a higher level, at the wholesale level.
Right.
And I was blown away by this idea, because coming from pharma, I never heard of anybody looking at it from this approach.
Right.
So people are looking at it. People are trying to come up with new and innovative ways. And when you have a spotlight on an epidemic or a problem like that, people come out of the woodwork with great ideas.
Right.
So I would encourage anyone out there with idea, whether it be you want to get in the cannabis industry, or if you even just want to help out, helping people get off of more addictive substances, there's a lot that you can do. So that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've lost 3 of my best friends to some form of opioids.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. And nobody should have to bury their kids.
No.
You know, or that's the
or friends
or parents or anything.
Yeah,
and
that's. I had a chance to meet with.
Not to end a podcast on a down note.
That's I had a chance to meet George Clinton a few years ago while in Colorado. Yeah.
Oh, George Clinton. I'm sorry.
George Clinton.
Pointed George Carlin over there.
No, Parliament Funkadelics.
Yeah.
Dr. Funkenstein.
Nice.
A couple of years ago, and we didn't get to talk for very long, but it was just like, you came through an era, and I mean, I guess you could say at the height of your career, the kind of substances that he had access to, at least the way he described it, he was just like, we're some of the best, and most of it he didn't really have to pay for. He's a famous musician.
Sure. And
to make a long story short, cannabis was something that really helped him come away from that. You still definitely have to want to be free and clear of those things, but he talked about having like a few close calls and some, seeing some of the stuff that happened to his friends, and when you work in that kind of profession as an entertainer,
twice as hard.
Yeah,
not 10 times as hard.
Yeah,
because you're around it 24/7.
Yeah,
and that's your culture.
Yeah, that was a great like few minute conversation I got to have with that guy. And,
he's awesome.
Yeah, it was tremendous to talk with him, man. I could, I felt a bit more funky that day after I talked to him. I was just like, yeah, baby, we're going to,
You went home and started talking to the wife, and you're like, hey.
Yeah. I snuck a little Bootsy Collins in there.
Yeah.
I was like, it's Jelly's last jam, baby. Yeah.
You got the bass so somewhere over here. We can get that fired up. Cool, man.
Yeah, dude.
I've never had a chance to see him live. I've kicked myself. All the free shows he does in New York City, I've never gotten over there, so I'll have to make that happen before. My other George Carlin over there. That's what I was thinking. I went right to George.
Yeah.
Died 3 weeks before I had a chance to go see him, so I'm kicking myself for that one. But, George Clinton, man, I'd love to.
George, yeah, man, and those guys are getting old. They're really pretty old.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it was great to talk with him, and it was interesting to. He's probably one of the only celebrities that I've met that I would be able to talk with like that. He had just had an article done. I want to say it was Dope magazine, where he talked a bit about that. So it was just like that allowed a little bit of that conversation to happen, which was awesome. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. You don't make those type of connections often.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could be like George Clinton's my, that's my uncle.
I say connection, but yeah. Just more of a bonding connection in that moment, right? It
was cool, man, and I really appreciate him, just being open, about that part of his life with a complete stranger. So it was like that was pretty dope.
Yeah. You smoke with him?
No, I wish.
Okay.
I wish I would still be talking about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to have somebody like videotape it, so it's like
hold this.
Yeah, like hold my phone real quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But yeah, man.
Well, great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's been really great. I'm glad we made this happen. We've been talking about it, like I said, for a couple months.
Yeah.
Going back and forth. So you want to tell our listeners and viewers how to get in touch with you?
So to get in touch with me, our website is www.acbdremedy.com. You can reach me via email at info@acbdremedy.com.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being on the show, man. It's been great.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. It's Jason here from the Coast to Coast Canna Chat with the CBD Remedy. Vince Oliver. We're out.